This is the Speak Easy podcast where we go behind the scenes talking about what it means to be the successfully or not so successful paid speaker or author. I'm your host, Altuis Pelzer, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon best-selling author, you know it, and founder of the World Voice League. Yes, a virtual network of female speakers coming together to impact social change. With that being said, I'm super excited about our guest today. Why? Because guess what? They have some great information and insight. And just listening to his journey, I'm just going to let you know right now. Go on and pull the tissues over to the side. Just go on and put them next to your phone. I know you got your earbuds in right now, or you're listening to this in the car. Just know you're gonna shed at least one tear on this episode. With that being said, hello, Michael.
Hey, Altavis, how are you?
I am doing great. I am so excited to have you on today. Oh my goodness. Ooh, it's like, where do we start? Well, tell the studio audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Sure. So I am Michael K. Jackson. Don't forget the K. Founder and CEO of Michael K. Jackson International. I am a Caribbean inspirational speaker, writer, entrepreneur. I'm also a public servant, if you will, and a father, a husband. The list can go on and on. I'm multi-dimensional. So we'll get into some of those dimensions, I'm sure, today.
Oh, we are going to get all into those dimensions today. So I'm super excited. So when we think about tragedy, guys, you guys that have been following me for any length of time, you know that I'm a victor over molestation. My girls are victors over molestation. You know that I've dealt with homelessness. You know that I've dealt with the death of my mother, divorce. I've dealt with so many different things. And as a woman, I often tell my story because I want to empower other women. But we don't necessarily always hear the man, that's gone through so many different trials and tribulations and things that really could have knocked you way off track. So let's start there and give them a little insight into why we're talking about this topic today.
So one of the reasons we're talking about this topic today is because I've been blessed to have overcome a number of different tragedies and a number of different adversities in my life, and most recently would be the tragic death of my father during Hurricane Maria in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, where I grew up. Actually, 2 years ago this month.
And so I know that you said that was really a tipping point for you to be able to look back on some of the things that you've gone through. And
it was.
But it was. Wow.
Yeah, it was truly an inflection point for me in my life, Altavis, because it really, dealing with that tragedy really caused me to, it caused me to do a number of different things. It caused me to reflect back on my life and think about the various obstacles and tragedies and drama and trauma, as I say, that I've been able to overcome, not in my own strength, but in the strength of God, to be totally honest, throughout my life. And that was the valuable learning from dealing with the loss of my dad, in terms of allowing myself to really reflect back on all that God had brought me through. And I'm sure during this conversation, we'll get into, the various points in my life where I had to deal with some really, things that can really keep people stuck in life that I've been able to overcome. And because of that, I now feel it's incumbent upon me to really reach back now. Now I'm on a mission. Now I'm on a mission to really, inspire, encourage, empower, equip. I could go on, people out there, men and women, who are dealing with their own forms of adversity. not only externalities like losing a loved one, but also the internal stuff that we deal with every day. The negative self-talk, the doubts, the worry, the fear that keeps us frozen, really, from accomplishing what God put us here on earth to do. I'm on a mission to help people overcome all of that.
Most definitely. And so I know one of those moments that we were talking about where, you went through that moment of, man, it's almost like a gut punch where you have this high, you have this empowerment, you have this joy, you have this amazing feeling. And then in a moment, it's shifted for you. And so tell them a little bit more about that particular instance in your life.
Sure. So my wife and I, a few years ago, we're dealing with a rough pregnancy. She was on bed rest for a good while in the pregnancy, and I'm not going to get choked up. So she was on bed rest for a good while in the pregnancy. And she was 19 weeks pregnant when the doctor said that, the baby was trying to come. And I'll put it I'll try to put it in, I don't have all the female terms, so bear with me. I know your audience is largely female, Altavis, so bear with me. But, baby started coming. So they basically put her in, I think what was called a Trendelenburg position, where she's kind of upside down. And they said that, if she could hold on for a few more weeks, I think it was either 24 or 25 weeks is the point at which, a baby can actually survive outside the womb. So during those weeks, we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And we prayed some more. And it was at 21 weeks, Altavis, that she went into labor. And baby was coming. And we'd already named her Maya. And at that point, the doctor said, you guys, it's a 50-50 situation whether Maya is going to be born alive or be a stillbirth. Right? But any way you slice it, she's not going to survive for long, right? So didn't know how to take that, but what ended up happening was we were able to experience the joy of childbirth once again, and we're able to enjoy our daughter Maya for exactly 3 hours and 6 minutes. In those 3 hours and 6 minutes, and I tell you, Altavis, let me back up for a second and say that, when it says in the word that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that's completely correct, because we gave the birth to this beautiful, beautiful baby girl named Maya, and she was as small as she could fit in the palm of my hand. And as she came, we just watched her, and literally we watched her and took turns rocking her, all the while both of us bawling our eyes out. And I don't feel ashamed to say I was bawling my eyes out. I was literally bawling my eyes out. Particularly when, Altavis, her breathing started to be more shallow, get shallower and shallower. And then you felt her feet getting cold. And then you felt that cold drifting up through her feet, through her little tiny little, and all of a sudden, well, not really all of a sudden, because it seemed like a slow motion process. Her lungs stopped expanding and contracting, and she stopped breathing. And Altavis, I tell you what, that experience It's probably the hardest experience that I had ever experienced in my life. And I know we're going to talk about, me losing my dad, and we're going to go back and talk about some of the other things I was able to deal with. But that one right there, Altavis, was rough. But by the grace of God, I was able to overcome that, and let me not leave you and your audience there, okay? Because as God would have it, he gave us a second chance, and I think it was roughly maybe 18 months later, we gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Malia. And Malia is 4 years old this year. So talk about new beginnings. And all of that really goes to strengthen one's resilience, because those kind of things, those kind of experiences, as you know, are make or break experiences. We can get mad at the world, we can get mad at God, and we can just be stuck in life. But that was truly fuel for me in terms of life experiences and me wanting to really encourage, like I said, and empower people to overcome their adversities as well.
Now that experience, just knowing, what I've dealt with the passing of my mother and being in the room when she took her last breath, I definitely, I felt like, that it takes the wind out of you.
Absolutely. Literally.
It takes the wind out of you. And so how do you turn that around?
Well, at the time, I didn't know it, because I didn't really have the construct together. It wasn't until the losing of my dad and me reflecting back on, losing him and losing Maya and dealing with a mother with Alzheimer's and dealing with, past experience of all out failure in terms of, financial and emotional bankruptcy, divorce, and so forth, that I really started to put things together. But there's something that I've long done, and I call it my plan framework. And plan actually means something. It means pray, lean in, act, and then notate. And that construct is really what I use to really help people overcome their adversity, because it's really what helped me overcome my adversity, all of them. Didn't really have it formulated, but it's something that I've always practiced prayer and meditation. Look, I grew up in a Christian home where Christian values were not only taught but modeled. So prayer was always something foundational for me, right? And then just listening and leaning into your issues, listening to the voice of God, listening to your own inner voice and the voice of people that have your back, really. And then, as they say, faith without works is dead. So not just getting stuck there and saying, oh, I'm praying and I'm waiting, but actually acting on it, right? Doing something about it, right? And then the powerful benefit of journaling, which I call notate and plan, which helps you to really reflect back on. It's well documented how powerful and beneficial journaling is in terms of helping you deal and overcome your the various obstacles you're facing. So I put that plan framework in place. So to answer your question, Altavis, it's really the implementation of my plan that has always helped me overcome all my various adversities in life. And it's that plan that I want to help people to really implement in theirs, because it's something that that's not only for me to use, but it's really for the world to use.
Most definitely. And, what people fail to realize a lot of times is that as a speaker, your journey, it comes out on stage. even when we don't want it to at times. You know how God is at times. Even when we don't want it to, our journey definitely plays out on stage. So have you ever had a moment where your journey was playing out on stage and you didn't really plan for it to play out on stage?
A moment where my journey played out on stage and I didn't plan for it. Let me see. Now, I'll answer that question like this. I wouldn't necessarily say my journey, but it's, the things that are in you, right? They can't help but bubble up and come out. So I speak professionally. I have a day job, and I speak professionally through my day job all over the country. And I give more so informational presentations, and quite often, that inspirational piece will come out of me, and quite often I may tie something that I say, and sometimes it might be completely, unintentional. May tie something I say where perhaps I don't give glory to myself, but I give glory to God in some way, shape, or form, and stuff will come out. You know what I mean? So I would, that's how I would answer that question in terms of, the word says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So even when you're not trying out to be, stuff just bubbles out.
It's like it's like an overflow. It just comes, and you're just like, this is not what we had planned.
Yes. You get what I'm saying.
That's one of the wonderful things of being a speaker is that, you come into this saying, oh no, I'm planning this out. I have, I'm going to go this amount of time and this is what I'm going to talk about. And then when you get up there and something shifts, you see something shift within the room, within your audience, and you spark on something and it literally makes people perk up and pay attention. You're like,
absolutely.
That's what I'm supposed to be talking about.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, I've had too many of those times. Too many of those moments. Now, one of the things that I often ask anyone who comes onto the platform is this. In this journey, do you have any blunders, any moments where you look back and you say, you know what? That wasn't a great choice. It's done with now, but that wasn't the best choice that I should have done.
Yeah. Let me see. So blunders that I think back and say, maybe shouldn't have done that. Something I can share on your show. Let's come back to that one, Altavis. Give me a chance to think about that one.
Did you really say one that I can share on your show? That's the first time I've ever had somebody say that.
Let me give you one. I'll give you this one. Because this is a, as speakers, this might be a little more common than people like to admit. So, you get up there and you are, you're on point. You know what I mean? You're delivering your points. You're making your eye contact, you're using your hand gestures, you're doing your thing. But then sometimes it's not good to practice too hard. Be prepared, but don't practice too hard, because I found if you practice too hard, you overthink it. And you and I, you and I had an offline conversation about us introverts, and us introverts have a penchant for this too in terms of analysis paralysis, you know what I mean? So you laugh because you know what I'm talking about. So, and I'm sure your listening audience, particularly those, of whom are on the introverted side of the spectrum like us, can identify with this one. So you prepare, you pre-prepare, and you're ready, but then you stone cold forget what you were supposed to say at this particular moment. You get lost, you might get lost in your story, and it's like, well, okay, where was I going with that, and what am I supposed to say next? I'm like super prepared for this, but I'm completely drawing a blank. But you know what? there's as a side note, right? One thing I do, I'm at an age now, and this is kind of a side note, but I'm at an age now where I can admit certain things in terms of I can raise my hand and admit at this point now in my mid-40s that I've always sucked at team sports, right? Always sucked at team sports, right? I will say that. I can say that as a man now because I'm in my mid-40s, and I care less about that. But I will say this, because I've always sucked at team sports, right? I have thrown myself into working out, right? Weightlifting, right? And staying in shape. And also another passion of mine is Japanese jiu-jitsu, right? So, and where I'm going with this story is in jiu-jitsu, you have a technique that you're focusing on executing. And at times you may mess up on that technique. You may go left instead of right. However, in jiu-jitsu, it's a beautiful, beautiful art form. And I'm referring to the Japanese art form, jiu-jitsu. You can always recover, because if you go left, it's not about saying, oh, I was supposed to go right. No, just flow with it. That's a metaphor for life too. Just flow with it, and it'll self-correct. You know what I mean? So going back to the blunder, the one I'm thinking about specifically, where I completely forgot where I was going in the moment, I just went with it and was able to recover.
So I can have this honesty moment with you, because it's just me, you, and the listeners. And
millions of you, other listeners out there,
Yeah, it's just
across the world.
Good. And so one of the reasons why I was always fearful of writing down a speech, like writing, how some people write out their whole exact speech, is because I would always feel as though in the moment I stumbled over words. If I'm trying to read and focus on, I stumble over everything. Another reason why I don't do PowerPoints like that as well when I speak is because I don't want to stumble over my words. I'd rather just have a conversation with the audience.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, as the introvert, we think 9 times and speak once.
There you go.
Which can make for some great things for us, but there's some buts in there that you gotta work through. So I can definitely understand that with having that, that analysis paralysis and being up there on stage and going, I was just talking about something, and I was just talking about something. I'm not quite sure what it was, but go back to this point. And having that moment, I've done it myself, but I've also, with me having so many years that I've worked with speakers, I've seen other speakers do it. And it's always like, oh, I wish I could just slide them a note.
Exactly.
So I agree with you there, because that goes into the next question that I have, because talked a little bit before we started recording about how you come from a family with a history of military background. And I said, a lot of times, it keeps going down the line, and then you have that one person that kind of flips the switch and does something completely different. Right. So it's like, military, and then there's Michael. And so what was their response to you doing, you being the speaker and you going on this journey?
Well, everybody's response has been positive, because there's a big gap between, the present day and my military service, but it all ties in terms of, and that's why, I think about my dad, because he'd have been super proud. But, my uncles that served, I have cousins that served as well. Everybody's everybody's proud because they know my why. You know, my why is really all of this was born. Now I think at some point, you know, God's plans would have played out somehow or another. But because of these circumstances and because of me losing my dad, excuse me, that was a point at which, you know, I said it caused me to reflect and said, no, I have to do this, and I have to do this now. And it's not about me, but it's about all those who can be helped by my story. You know what I mean? Y'all always say, you know, authors, speakers, you, Altavis, have said this, and you say this on the show all the time in terms of, you know, just think about the fact that, you know, if you don't share your story, think about the one person that was supposed to be helped by your story, but, you know, you're denying them that. So I owe it to not only my Heavenly Father, but my earthly father as well, and his memory to go do this. You know, his death will not be in vain, not at all. So that is that's my fuel. That's my why. Yeah.
You hitting on all the feels today, Michael. You hitting on all the feels. I know folks they're not commenting because they probably trying to find tissues. They snotting somewhere.
Sorry, you guys. But it's really a happy story though, because, you know, it's really about resilience. Bottom line, it's about resilience. It's about, you know, bouncing back from your setbacks. You know, my motto is, you know, helping folks bounce back from setbacks and go back stronger. You know, after the hurricanes hit St. Thomas and hit the Caribbean, and we just had Dorian, and people still suffering from, and will be suffering, unfortunately, from Dorian for a while to come, because, you know, we're still rebuilding in St. Thomas and in the Virgin Islands in general from 2 years ago. You know, back then, when you hear, oftentimes when you hear resilience and you hear resilient communities or resilient infrastructure, it's about, you know, hardening the infrastructure, particularly in a hurricane context, hardening the infrastructure to withstand, you know, further Category 5 storms or strong winds, right? Catastrophic damage. So for me, it's really about, the impetus for me is really about helping people overcome their emotional Category 5 storms, and helping people, men and women, particularly, you know, leaders, entrepreneurs, business professionals, to harden their emotional infrastructure and build back stronger. Because one thing that's certain about life, Altavis, and you notice that we always gonna face adversity in one form or another. We either coming out or going in or getting ready to go in. You know what I mean? So having that foundation, and I build into my message of resilience the importance of my faith. That's just foundational, and it's really not about strength in our own strength, but really overcoming in the strength of God. You know, so it's really about, for me, helping people build back and bounce back from setbacks and build back stronger. All about resilience.
Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. So powerful. There are so many times where we just, again, we have those moments where we get the wind knocked out of us, and most people, you know, it's that fight or flight, flight. And, you know, if one of the reasons why I was so eager to have you on is because, yeah, you can speak to the fact that, listen, life is going to knock you around sometimes. It's going to give you some blows that make you think that it's completely over. But look at what can happen if you just keep pushing.
Absolutely.
And I think in today's society, that's definitely a strong voice and message that needs to be shared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Implement that plan. You will overcome.
Most definitely. So I am super excited. Oh my goodness, this episode has been amazing. I want you to let everyone know how they can reach you, get in contact with you, find out more about what it is that you're doing.
Sure. So easiest way is to go to michaelkjackson.com. Just a quick thing. So Michael K. Jackson, right? There are, everybody knows Michael Jackson, the famous Michael Jackson. There are a number of Michael Jacksons out there, and much to my chagrin, there are a number of Michael K. Jacksons out there as well. But this one, have the domain name. So just simply go to michaelkjackson.com. And you can link to all of my social media handles, my Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. You can find me on there. Please, feel free to connect with me. I write a blog. In fact, I just put out a blog this week called Dream Again, 5 Ways to Conquer Your Adversity and Become a More Resilient Leader. So I encourage folks to check it out. And then just, can I mention a couple of things that's coming up, Altavis? So everybody, I probably believe most of your audience knows about SpeakerCon that's coming up in November. And I will be, 2 things about SpeakerCon. So I'm going to be, and you're going to be involved as well, because you'll be coordinating this thing, but I will be a live stream speaker at SpeakerCon in November. And there's going to be a book launch. I'm privileged to be one of 50 authors that's going to be featured in a book called Speaking Your Truth that's coming out in November. And I have a chapter in that book, small chapter, but I talk about plan. So stay tuned for that as well.
Oh my goodness, I am super excited. So this is the thing. I want to share this with you guys before we let you go, is that you never know who you're going to meet and you never know how you're going to connect. I know we joke about being introverts, but as introverts, a lot of times we don't always, show up to the events. We don't always, especially, be in the front of the room. I always joke, the running joke is that you want to find the introverts in the room. They're normally at the last table in the back by the door.
Absolutely. Well, you're giving away all our secrets, Altavis.
So they can make that easy escape.
Easy escape.
Anytime you talk to an introvert, they'll go, yeah, that's usually where we are. But I found that we're in a season where we can definitely build together. We can strengthen each other, and don't look at one person, for them not being the person that's always in the limelight or the person that's always in the front of the room, the loudest person in the room. That just may not be their personality, but you never know what they may have to offer. And, it was at, this Speak Up book launch that I had the opportunity to meet Michael, and then have him on as a guest. And then I'll be, facilitating the live stream segment when it comes to the speakers for SpeakerCon. And so I'll see him there as well. And so you never know how you're going to connect with people.
Absolutely. I believe strongly in divine appointments. No coincidences, no happenstance, just divine appointments out of this.
That's right. And you got to show up in order for it to happen.
You got to show up. Yep.
You got to show up. So I'm so excited, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Speak Easy podcast. Guys, we've been rocking and rolling. Do you guys realize we've been doing this for 2 years? Like 2 years of interviews, 2 years of content, 2 years of you guys showing up, and we definitely appreciate it. We have some great things coming for you in the coming year. You guys are going to have some great opportunities to where you'll have some hot seat moments when it comes to being the speaker or the author. With that being said, also make sure that you go and leave us a review over on Apple Podcast. We would love to hear that. Go to bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast Show, all lowercase. And we would love to know how this particular episode or any of our episodes resonated with you. Because again, if there is no Speak Easy Podcast listeners, there is no Speak Easy Podcast. And I'm your host, Altavis Pelzer. Until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.